Hello, people of America. How are you today? So, fourth graders, you have two tasks today that I would like you to accomplish. Let me put my shield down. I don't really need that right now. So, your first task is going to be a follow up from yesterday with the three branches. Let's do the review. We have the legislative, which makes the laws because it has an L. We have the executive, which is the president, super important. And we have the judicial, take your little gavel and kind of pound on the table because we are the judges. So here's what you will do. You will take each one of these boxes on the side and you are going to drag and drop them in the correct spot. I'm going to do the first one with you. So the president is part of the executive branch. So you're going to drag that and you will put it right underneath the executive branch, okay? So you have 8 little choices over here and then 8 slots to put them in. If you forgot what they are, you can always watch yesterday's video or you could reread the passage from yesterday. So that is task one. Task two that I need you to do is you are going to go to a Google form and it is attached on here. It'll be on the next slide and it looks like this. And it is question, how does the US government work? Please tell me. So you are going to read the attached passages. I don't know why I have an accent, but you're going to read the attached passages, watch the video, and answer the following questions. Go America! So the first thing we're going to talk about is symbols. So I'm going to walk you through the two different types of symbols that you have probably seen in America and two symbols that, well, represent each president that is running this election time. So we have two candidates that are running, all right, and each candidate represents a different party. There are two parties that are discussed during this election. There's the Democratic Party and there's the Republican Party, okay? So two different parties, a Democrat and Republican. So the Democrat Party is represented by a donkey. Okay. And each one of these have different opinions on different beliefs and different things. Okay. So maybe your family is a Democratic family, maybe your family is a Republican family. So in class, we're not going to discuss which party we are. We're just going to learn about the facts that make them up. Okay. Because politics is one of those things that everyone has opinion on, but quite honestly, we really try not to discuss them simply because it's just kind of disrespectful to talk about different candidates. It's your own personal opinion. So a lot of the times when we're discussing it in fourth grade, we're going to focus on the facts that we know versus our opinion on how we think we know, okay? Because the media gives us all sorts of different things. So I just want us to focus on we know there's a Democratic Party and a Republican Party, okay? So the Democrats are represented by a donkey. The Republicans are represented by an elephant. These two animals were actually not chosen by these two different parties or groups. The donkey and the elephant were drawn as an insult by a cartoonist in the 1870s. Okay. This guy named Thomas Nast actually came up with these and they've just kind of stuck with them. All right. But the cartoon was so popular, the Democrats and the Republicans couldn't change them. Also, each one of these have a different color that represents them. One is represented by red and one is represented by blue. I want you to see if you can figure out throughout this next few lessons, are the Democrats blue or are the Democrats red? Are the Republicans blue? Are the Democrats blue? I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. So, just for your knowledge, Mr. Trump, who's the current president, he is actually a Republican. Okay. So, just wanted to fill you in, and we'll talk more about the person who is going against him in the election here shortly. So, after we've read that, you're going to answer a couple different questions. All right. So, now, why do we elect a president? What's the purpose of this? Why do we have to have a president? So, we know that the king, we got away from King George, and so we elect a president. Now, here's the thing. We do this every single 4 years in the United States. Well, because we don't want to get tired of the same person. And let's say Mr. Trump gets elected again and we have a Republican president again. we want to make sure that we give the Democrats a chance the next time, or we give the Republicans a chance the next time. So we want to make sure it goes back and forth, and we want to make sure that each party gets its fair chance in the White House, okay? So we don't always want Republicans in there. We don't always want Democrats in there. Sometimes we have other people that run that are called independents, okay? So we do this every 4 years. And well, we do the election to make sure we vote somebody that's the best for the country. Now, we don't always agree with everything that these people are kind of persuading us that they will do as a president, but we want to pick the person that not only is our party, but we also want to pick the person that represents the beliefs that we have, okay? So for example, if you have an election going on, and one of the candidates is named Bob, and Bob says that he is going to have recess every single day. Well, that may be a belief that you have, and you may just feel the need to vote for Bob because he has that belief, okay? So you want to make sure you're picking the person that has opinions as you do, and a person that represents what you believe in. All right. So in the United States, there is a system in place to make sure that no one state has more power over the other states when it comes to voting. And this is actually called the Electoral College. Okay. So we vote, and that is called the popular vote. So let's say in my class, I have 24 kids. And let's say we are voting for Captain America or Black Panther, and more kids in my class vote for Black Panther. So we would assume that in our class, the winner would be Black Panther. Well, kind of, sort of, yes, but not necessarily. So there's this thing in place called the Electoral College. So from our class, the Black Panther was our popular vote. The Electoral College allows each state, so our class, a certain amount of votes that go to the election. When the majority of the votes in one state goes toward one candidate, the electoral votes are added up, not each vote of the people. This system is meant to give the state a fair amount of power in the election based on their population. So, since my class has more students than the other classes, okay, my class gets to have 4 electoral college votes. So, because Black Panther wound up winning in my class, we get to put 4 votes forward for Black Panther, okay? Where Miss Wittenberg's class, I'm sorry, Miss Wittenberg, Miss Engelberg's class only gets 2 votes, okay? So they also voted for Black Panther, but their vote will go towards Black Panther, but only 2 votes. I know this is really, really confusing. So I even have a hard time sometimes explaining this, because it's like, why vote then if it's the Electoral College? Well, every vote does count because each state is either Democratic or Republican. So we want to make sure as many votes are calculated to persuade that Electoral College on how to vote. So I'm not doing a very good job explaining this, okay? So what I did is I found a video that includes Grover from Sesame Street that explains this whole lot better using chickens, because it's very hard to kind of understand. If I'm voting, well, then why is this Electoral College actually the one that's giving us a vote? So now that you've listened to me about this, you're going to go back and you're going to watch the video by Grover, and he's going to explain this more in detail on how we have a popular vote versus an Electoral College vote, okay? So do make sure you read the rest of that passage, answer some questions, okay? And here's the video as you see about Grover. They go into a lot better job of explaining it. And again, he uses chickens to explain it because it is very, very confusing. If I'm voting, you would think that Black Panther would win in my class, but he might not actually win. So we've had situations where we thought the president had won by the popular vote, but really the other person wound up winning. For example, Hillary Clinton was going against Donald Trump. So Hillary Clinton actually won the popular vote. But based on the Electoral College, Donald Trump won because he got more of the Electoral College votes. I know, really confusing. You would think that Hillary Clinton would have won. But that is just what was set up back when the Constitution was written, okay? So make sure you watch that video. Now, here's some things that you need to know if you are elected president. So after the Electoral College votes are added up, a new president takes office. So on next Tuesday, when we find out the results, possibly Wednesday, sometimes Thursday, it takes a while for these votes to be counted. Once these votes are counted, this person will take office not in November. They have to wait until January to take office. They're sworn in, and this person will help make decisions, and they will work with Congress and the Supreme Court. Okay. The president will then move into the White House. So it could be Mr. Trump moving back in, or it could be Mr. Biden, who I will tell you a little bit about in the upcoming days. So he could potentially be the next president that moves into the White House. Okay. Now, the president and their family all live in the White House for one term. So a president has an opportunity to serve for 4 years. This is year 4 for Mr. Trump, okay? A person can be a president for 2 terms. So Mr. Trump, he's done after this year unless he wins again. So he can do 2 terms, and each term is 4 years. Okay. So think about that. If he did 1 term, that's 4 years. If he did 2 terms, that would be 4 plus 4. So how many years can you be a president? And Mr. Obama actually got to be the president for this long because America loved him so much and enjoyed him as a president that we elected him for 2 terms. So he got this amount of years. I'm not going to tell you the answer. So remember, 1 term is 4 years. 2 terms would be 4 plus 4. Okay. So the President of the United States is also abbreviated as POTUS. So if you ever see that, that's just an abbreviation for President of the United States. So you'll answer that question. And then I have a question for you. So let's say you want to be a president, okay? You could. Well, none of you could because you're in 4th grade, but one day you could. But here's some rules that you have to follow if you want to be a president. You must be at least 35 years old. Okay. You must have lived in the United States for the last 14 years. So if you moved to France and you lived in France for 14 years and then came back here, you could not be president. Think about why we would have that rule in place. Why would that person have to live in the United States? That's actually a very important rule to have. And you must be a citizen at birth. This means your mom or dad was a citizen at the time of your birth. That makes you a citizen. If your mom was visiting Japan when you were born, you are still a U.S. citizen. So if your parents were visiting somewhere and they had you out of the United States, but they lived in the United States, well, that's okay. Maybe they were taking a trip. But let's say you were born in Japan and you're a Japanese citizen. Well, you don't get to run for president, okay? This also means that if your parents moved to the USA when you were 6 months old, you became legal citizens and made you a legal citizen by the time you were 2 old, you cannot be president. So you have to have been born here, unfortunately. Maybe one day that will be a change to the Constitution because we have a lot of great people that come from other countries that want to make a name here. But again, I want you to think, why in the world would the founding fathers have put these rules into place? So the question I have for you, I am 33 years old. Can I run for president? Can you explain to me why or why not I might be able to run for president? Who knows? I do know a lot about history. I mean, it's worth a shot, but I may or may not be able to right now. So that is your task for today. So go ahead and fill these out. And those people who are in person, we are going to do this as a class. And those of you who are at home, maybe fill this out with a family member because, again, it is a very important privilege that we have in the United States to vote and to be part of the presidential election process.